Blog Talk Radio.
Whoa, Sports City. We are back in the building with an oldie but goodie. I'm not going to lie. My heart lies in that brunch. But I love that ball going off the hardwood, man. That's right, man. The Crossover Café is back in the building for the year 2021. New year, new season, new regime. Hopefully everybody together in this world. Day one of a new president in office, things of that nature. I'm a little elated with everything that's going on in the world today. Some highs, some lows, but Tupac said it best, life goes on. So let me get this show started. I got some oldie but goodies back in the building, calling in by way of the state of California. Well, they both are from California, but one's in California. I have Vinny in the building. Vinny, welcome to the Crossover Cafe. How are you feeling this evening?
I feel really good, Ty. Thank you for having me back on Talk Sports. Yes, it's such a breather with everything in the world that seems so serious, and we got to be careful and wear our mask and everything else. But you know what? Sports is always the great equalizer. It brings things back to that baseline, and I'm ready to get into it. Yeah, the NBA is something that's getting into the swing of things here, and I can't wait for the questions and the discussion. Happy to be here. Also
calling from the California region by way of the state of Colorado, we have Big Easy Eric Gross in the building. How are you feeling this evening?
I am doing great. The NBA Crossover Cafe is back in the saddle again, folks. Very excited and very happy to be here with each and one of you, my brothers, and I'm ready for our premiere show. This is going to be exciting.
And last but not least, as everybody starts to fill in here, because I'm already being told that a lot of people may be showing up a little bit late, but I wanted them to be here on time. Another oldie but goodie, and this has been at least 10 years stronger than more. Let me say more than 10. I give him more than 10. Arkeezy, a.k.a. Royce King, welcome back into the kitchen. How are you feeling this evening at the Crossover Cafe?
I'm feeling real good, Thomas, man. Excited to be back here on the Crossover Cafe. What's up to the gentlemen who are resident chefs? Let's do what we do. Let's make it a good one.
Okay, so since Arkeezy ain't been in the building in a while, I'm gonna feed both of these guys, right? I'm gonna start in the Eastern Conference because Vinny ain't been here in a while. Arkeezy ain't been in here in a while. I gotta feed these dudes. You know what I'm saying? I gotta let these dudes talk. I gotta tell them how they feel, right? So I'm gonna start in the East. In the top of the Eastern Conference, right? And I know Royce over there cheesing. He feeling some type of way. And I was on another network with him talking about one of his boys, but one of the men that he grew up off of, let me just say it the right way, in the doc, and somebody that my father raised me up watching and told me that he was better than Mike at that point in time. But, you know, as the time changed, that conversation kind of slowly changed itself. But the Philadelphia 76ers are sitting atop the Eastern Conference, right? And They are in their last 10 games. They're 6-4 in play. They are, and this is continuing, I think, for the past 2 or 3 years, that they are unstoppable in South Philadelphia. The only time they find difficulty is when they go on the road, but still yet they are on top of the East right now. With the likes of some people coming back to the roster and knowing that everybody's battling the COVID situation. Your thoughts on Philly at this point in time, and Embiid having a monster game the other day, putting up 40 points. And this is something that me and him talked about off air, of the consistency of, well, at least for me, I was saying this was me, with Embiid and his consistency. If he can put those type of numbers up, and I'm not asking for a 40-10, 40-20 night, but if he could just threaten it big and go in there and get you more than 27 to 31 points a night, I take that every night. But your thoughts on Philly, and you know, spill that one out. We'll throw this one around the kitchen.
Me first, Ty?
Thank you for that, Thomas. Yeah, man.
No, Roy, I got Roy.
I'm really a homer, right? But I'm a diehard. Like, I'm old school. You mentioned Dr. J, and so it's about what have you done lately. Am I impressed with where the Sixers are right now at 10-5, knowing that they're 8-1 at home and still struggling with their road performances at 2-4? Nah, not really. Like, I still looking for more from Ben Simmons in terms of a consistent presence where he can impact the game in a timely fashion, where the things that he does changes the flow or the course of it or momentum where it swings Philly's side and we can start winning games going away. It just feels like we're in contests that are too close for comfort with teams that shouldn't be, and teams that we got to go through like a Boston Celtics or a Milwaukee Bucks squad, somebody like that in the East. You know, it doesn't always look like we're really the best team out there on the floor, even if we have a lead sometimes. Like, I was watching that game last night, and I kept looking at the scores like, damn, we got the lead. Why it don't feel like we winning, though? And that's just what I see sometimes with this Sixers squad. So I'm hard to please as a fan of the Sixers, but it's good to be atop the East. Let's roll with it for right now. Let's continue to get healthy. Let's continue to abide by the protocols as far as the COVID as it pertains to the players and traveling and contact and things of that nature. I know that's really difficult thing for players to do, Tymeless, you know, at the end of the game to not, you know, just it's instinct, it's habit. Yo, what's up, dog? Good game, man. Good to see you. Da da da. Like, you want to do it, but hey, if they got to put somebody there at half court to try to, you know, pump the brakes and everything, so we're not getting so many postponed games, I'm with that. But I'm happy with my Sixers where they are, but I'm not quite impressed, Thomas. You know I'm hard to please with these guys.
Oh, believe me, that's why you are my brother, because I do the same thing. I'm hard. I'm one of my worst critics in my own life and on my own team as well. I want to heat this up, and because I want everybody to eat at this. I'm going to make this a little personal for you. And I know you won't even take it the hard way or whatever by me saying it like personally, right? But I'm going to say it this way. What will it take for Simmons to shoot the ball, like, consistently? Just like you said, the consistency. What is it going to take for him to just shoot the ball? I don't care if you brick. Like just get the ball up so the defense respects it. So if they see it hit at least 2 or 3 times, like they got to defend you. You know, like what is it going to take? Like I'm tired of hearing people thinking that he should do this, or thinking that he can do that, or other than we're saying that he's worked on a jump shot in the offseason. He took a jump shot and shot an air ball. It's like he didn't go back to shoot another jumper again. But I'll let you elaborate.
One word: hypnosis. Hypnosis, man. Somebody gonna have to hypnotize him, right? And send him out there. Send him out there after he's been hypnotized, after he's been in warm-ups. You know, sometimes I think I've seen some games where he's warming up and he's shooting a corner 3 ball and he's knocking them down, right? So I got to hypnotize pregame warm-up jump shooting Ben Simmons to play in the regular game. That's what it's going to take, because if I don't hypnotize him, the conscious Ben Simmons is just going to be stubborn. He's going to be like, nah, that's not my game. I don't want to do it. I ain't going to do it. This is what I'm doing, and we winning like this. It's good enough, and that's what I think that he thinks. You can't hold me to it because I don't really know what he thinks, but if you're asking my opinion of what we need to do, we need to hypnotize Ben Simmons so he'll shoot those pregame warm-up threes in the game.
Okay, let me throw this one around the cafe and see how you guys feel about it. Eric, I'll come to you. Your thoughts on the Philadelphia 76ers. With them sitting atop the East, I know this is early. I don't project them to sit atop the East, but they will be, to me, I think they'd be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference unless, the worst happens. That I'm not going to say words like that because I don't want to talk it into existence. But your thoughts on Philly, and also if you would like to elaborate on Ben Simmons and his awareness of not shooting the ball.
Yeah, Ben Simmons, he's going to have to it seems like he may not be confident, you know what I mean? He's got to trust his shot, trust his game, because we all know he's a hell of a player. He has the potential to be a superstar in this league, so he just needs to show us that night in and night out. But the 76ers, they were one of my teams that I had coming out on top of the East, so I'm not surprised them being, at first right now. Shake Milton continues to be an X factor. This guy's averaging almost 17 points a game, so he's been a really big boost for the Sixers, and they got big-bodied Dwight Howard, one of the best defenders and rebounders in the league. So, and Doc Rivers, of course. So these guys are a well-coached bunch of guys. I like I like how they're playing right now, and I look for them to continue and to only get better. So especially if Ben Simmons turns it on, this team's going to be dangerous, and they're going to be a legitimate threat to the Brooklyn Nets because they play defense and they rebound. So this team gets going, especially with the play of Big Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? Him and Simmons, they're one good 1-2 punch if Simmons is playing at the level we know he can. So I like what I'm seeing for the 76ers, and I only look for them to get better.
Okay, and last but not least on this situation, we have Benny, your thoughts on the 76ers, their style of play. Can they continue this? And also your thoughts on Ben Simmons, if he can contribute at a consistent basis other than attacking the rim and distributing.
Okay, so if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it smells like a duck, it's usually a duck. And I think that's what we really have with Ben Simmons. I think we see what he is. He's just not a shooter. Best case scenario, Ben Simmons, I think later on in his career when he loses a step and he'll be forced to shoot the three-pointer more often. A lot of players have done this as they're getting older in their careers. That's when he'll become a little bit of a better three-point shooter. Until then, I think he is what he is, which is a great player and a perfect fit for that offense. And what's going well for Philadelphia is, well, you want to talk about Embiid for a second. Okay, like the main thing with him is he's healthy. Like the problem with Embiid has never been can he play or is he going to be a dominant big man? When he's playing, when he's healthy, he's the best player on the court most of the time, and that's just the way it is. And this team is definitely built to win. I don't think they're going to be able to get out of the East because for a couple of reasons. I don't think they have enough 3-point shooting in a game that has really shifted now, where you need the 3-point player to the 3-point play. The 3-point shot to have it all around. Your big guy's got to shoot at threes now. That's just the way the game is. And I think that Ben Simmons part of the problem, but that Philadelphia lacks that, and that's going to hurt them going forward. With that, so far with Tobias Harris and some of the big guys that they have, they're going to be good defensively, and they're going to be a force in the East. But I don't know if they have enough to make it out. I've been wrong before, but that's how I feel about them anyhow.
Okay, so the kitchen is starting to fill up. And interesting enough, California is really in the building, calling out of the southern region of California, the 310. I think this is Tom. Tom, is this you? Welcome back to the Café.
Hey, dude. It's been too long. What a year. But it's been too long. How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Where you been hiding out, man? You been stuck in Manhattan Beach or what? What you doing, man?
Los Angeles. I have a 2-year-old son, and with having to work from home and whatnot, not always conducive to hopping on at 7 p.m. Normally, I used to call him the driver probably at 6. Normally, I used to call him my drive home from work, but so it's been tough. But I'm gonna start hopping on. I'm gonna start hopping on more while I can.
Yeah, I know what it is. Look, don't blame it on your son. Shout out to little Tommy. I don't know if he's Tommy Jr. or whatever, but I know what it is. You and Eric, the Lakers got good again, and then all of a sudden everybody want to climb back into the kitchen. It's funny. It's funny. It's okay. I feel like this is Wizard of Oz.
Hey, bro, I'm a non-biased basketball fan, so
I'll let you guys speak. And I feel like when the Wicked Witch died, the two of you are holding hands and singing the King Kong, the Wicked Witch is dead. So I feel that's what's going on right now. So Tom, welcome back to the Café. Hope everything's going on.
During all our bad years, I was never a homer for them. I always said we were just messing up, but then you get LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and things magically work out, I suppose. But
yeah, okay. Don't think you're slick. But I'm gonna get back. Let me get back to this show because you guys think you're slick. I got you. I'll get back at you one other day. But your thoughts on Philly and what they're doing in the East right now? They're sitting at 10-5 on top of the Eastern Conference, and there's a couple of teams I want to get to in the Eastern Conference. But I wanted at least everybody to get onto that one because I got Royce back in the building. I got to give him that wholesome plate of fried chicken, macaroni, and cheese. You know what I'm saying? But your thoughts on Philly? Can they withstand the storm? And at least they're in the top 4 in the East. And, everybody's hitting on the same button about Ben Simmons. Your thoughts at least on him trying to work a jump shot?
Yeah, I think they can definitely stay in the top 4 in the East, right? I think I think Ben Simmons is an interesting player because you could both make the argument the hate has gone too far and the hate is 100% accurate, right? I think anyone trying to say, Ben Simmons is like a useless basketball player, blah, blah, that's just stupid. He's amazing on defense. In the open court, he's incredible. If the game didn't require a jump shot, Ben Simmons might be the second or third best player in the league, right? Unfortunately, a jump shot is a pretty important part of playing. To me, Embiid is great. Simmons needs the whole team built around him, and this team is built the opposite, right? Embiid is about as bad of a superstar as you could pair Simmons with. I don't want to be too hard on Simmons, but if I'm being dead honest, I think Simmons is kind of destined to be the best player on an Indiana Pacers type team where it's they're perpetually not out of the playoffs. They're always a 4 to 6 seed. He maybe makes the second round every now and then. But the problem with Simmons is just this, in the playoffs, if your strengths are open court basketball, fast break, and not being able to shoot, well, as we've seen in the playoffs, fast break play doesn't really work. Teams will clamp down on that. Open court basketball, you need to be able to have a half court game. You need to be able to either shoot threes, you need to be not scared to go to the foul line, you need to have some sort of a mid-range game. So I just worry Ben Simmons is that very good defender, very good regular season player who becomes not irrelevant, but way less relevant in the postseason. And the problem with Simmons is this. If Simmons made if Simmons made $20 million a year, great. He'd be a spectacular player to have. But he's a max guy. He's not going to accept he's going to make $29 million, then he's going to make $35, then he's going to make $40. As long as you need to dedicate 30 to 40% of your cap to Ben Simmons, I just don't have a lot of confidence in it. If I were the 76ers, I would have pulled the trigger on that Harden trade if they had a chance. I wouldn't have given up all the picks. So my take on the Sixers is I think they're definitively the third. I would give you an argument maybe they're better than the Celtics, but I still think in a series the Celtics would beat them because I'm just looking at history. The Celtics have beaten them pretty badly twice in the past, and even though Embiid's better, you just got to show it to me at some point, right? They got to show it to me. Simmons is not showing it to me. Embiid shows it to me in flashes. He's having a great season so far, but it's been 15 games. I just got to see it. So will they be a 4 seed? Sure. But will they win the title? Will they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? I doubt it. Maybe the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't even know if I think that's their ceiling.
And it's interesting because I think didn't the Celtics get bumped last year by Miami, right? Miami got them out of there, right?
Miami got. I think who swept the Sixers? Was it the Celtics? Was it the Sixers were embarrassed. Granted, Simmons wasn't there, but the Sixers were embarrassed out of the playoffs last year. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, I'd like to have that debate, but I'm not going to remember.
Yeah, it was Boston who swept them, I believe. I do believe it was Boston who knocked Philly out again last year. He's spot on, Tymeless. He's spot on. Embiid is the franchise player. He is the better player in terms of you can see he wants to be better. He's willing to do the things to get better, regardless of some of the commentary about his weight, his size, or injuries and so forth and so on. He clearly demonstrated it multiple times. He is a MVP candidate thus far this season, and granted, as he alluded to, it's only 15 games, but he has shown up and produced in every game. But we're asking questions about Philadelphia, and the reason we don't believe in Philadelphia is simply the play of Ben Simmons, his limitations, whereas it's not that he can't shoot, it's not that he couldn't be an effective shooter. and not in a shooter in the traditional sense of a Steph Curry or J.J. Redick or anybody like that. We're actually just talking about a guy unwilling to shoot a basketball when that is your craft, right? It's a part of the job that most of us take for granted as, yeah, everybody's supposed to do this unless you just really can't, like, at all, and you're being asked not to. We're not asking Ben not to. We're asking him to do it. And we're not even asking Ben Simmons to do it at a high clip. We're just saying do it to keep defenses honest. Help your team be more successful in the long term, in the long run, and whatever he's deciding not to acquiesce and be a part of a winning culture, I don't know. So it is what it is. I thought he was spot on with his take with a lot of the points about Philadelphia. And Ben Simmons is this season making a little over $30 million, right? And it's going to continue to go up. Embiid's right now like at $29 million and some change. His is going to go to like 31. And so when you spend that much money on the two, you need elite performance. And don't dare I forget Tobias Harris, $34 million. Are you serious? Getting the exact same amount of field goal attempts per game as Joel Embiid? That's what we're doing? Really? Again, I told you, Thomas, man, it's cool, 10-5, but I'm not happy with this franchise, and I'm not happy with the team and how it's constructed, and I'm not here for a hot take, but it hurt my heart when they chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler, period. That was a humongous mistake. They should have ran that whole team back. When you have a Kawhi Leonard get away with a travel, get all the way to the corner, get a 7 bouncer to go in to advance to the finals, you don't look at that as we ultimately failed or we can't get it done. You look at it and say, damn, that's what it took? Okay, we running it back. And when they didn't, hey, man, this is what we're dealing with right now. So it's a struggle. And, yeah, Thomas, I'm not completely happy with this team.
Okay, just making sure I get that out there. Look, it's already heating up in the kitchen, man. Continue to call in, man. Got the good traffic coming in here. The call-in number is 929-477-2759. Had to get that one out there. At least I got to get these people comfortable. I don't want to put them in no uncomfortable zone. You know what I'm saying? Because I watch people take their food and go. You know what I'm saying? So I got to keep them in. But I do want to keep it in the Eastern Conference because one team that's sitting in the top 8, now I know they're not in the top 4, and I know I got Vinny back in the building, but the Knicks are an 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they are playing some interesting basketball with some interesting pieces from some names that you wouldn't think that would get the job done, but Julius Randle's been doing an effective job, R.J. Barrett being one of the notables as well. But they also have a young guard that I'm a little mad at OKC about because they picked him up in the draft and traded him to the Knicks, and he's been helping out. But, Vinny, your thoughts on the Knicks at this point in time? They're sitting at 7-8, a game under 500. I know it's early. I know that they're tied up at that position as well. But your thoughts on the Knicks and if they can stay successful to at least be in the top 8 as this season continues?
The Knicks, actually, you know what? I like them better this year. I think that they're starting to come together as a team a little bit. I mean, they don't really have the like 1A superstar, but they got a couple like 1B guys. Like I think R.J. Barrett is he's one of those guys. He's kind of like a quasi star. Julius Randle is arguably, I mean, he's an all-star. he's turned into some kind of player. So he's doing very well. They missed with the point guard. You know, when they got Dennis Smith Jr. in the Porzingis trade, I thought to myself, you know what? I feel like Dennis Smith Jr. can put it together. He's going to be one of those guys that gets it together later, but he kind of didn't. But then they drafted the guy Frank. I forget his. I can't pronounce Nicolatina, and he was from overseas. He was good too, but he hasn't come together yet. I feel like they need a point guard. Elfrid Payton is serviceable, but they need like the. Why do you know what? If they had a high pick, if they could have gotten LaMelo, I think LaMelo Ball is a superstar. I think he's the best out of the Ball brothers. And I was going to chime in before and say what the Sixers should do. An idea is I doubt that they could, but if they could pry away LaMelo for a trade with Ben Simmons. I think LaMelo would fit better, like a guy like LaMelo as a point guard for the Sixers rather than Ben Simmons. But the Knicks, back to the Knicks, like, yeah, I think they're coming together a little bit. This coach that they have now he's a tough guy. He had a couple of he was from Memphis. He did good in Memphis.
No, he didn't coach in Memphis.
Where did he coach before?
Thibodeau didn't coach in Memphis.
Chicago, but he was in Chicago, and then.
There you go.
And that was it, right? Was that it?
No, he's had a few jobs, but Chicago's the more notable one when he had Derrick Rose and company.
Anyhow, he's a tough coach. He means business. He plays guys heavy minutes, and the Knicks are they going? I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Well, maybe, but they're not going to do much this year. But they're coming together, and hopefully with a draft pick or two, they can make a run. I mean, that's what it takes in the NBA. You get one lucky break. You draft a guy who is just a difference maker, who's a stud, and you have the 1B players like the Barretts and the Julius Randles. More serviceable. The guy quickly too is actually he's really coming on lately. A good draft pick this year. But so you have those pieces in place, and then you get that one person who kind of just steps up and becomes better than you could have imagined, and that's the Knicks are closer than I think. I'll say this about the Knicks: they're closer than we think, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and that's the guy that I was talking about in Emmanuel quickly. This is the guy that the Thunder picked up in the draft and got rid of him to the Knicks, as well as Alec Burks. But like Alec Burks is different. But I disagree with you with the Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton has actually been helping his team out too. One of those guys that gets that game started for them scoring too. So. I mean, don't overlook a lot of the pieces that they do have. Reggie Bullock has been an interesting piece to them as well. And I guess when they're at full strength, we'll really see them. But they do have a good amount of depth in the paint with the 4 and the 5, led by Julius Randle at this point in time. I don't know if you guys want to throw the Knicks around, but I just wanted to feed at least Royce and Vinny, their boys, and I wanted to move around the kitchen. But if you guys do want to elaborate on the Knicks, we can. I'll go to you first, Royce, and then I'll go to Eric. Get your thoughts on the Knicks. Or I'll move to something else. I just wanted to get you guys to feel at home.
Oh, man, I'm excited about the New York Knicks. I'm big on Emmanuel quickly. You know, I do my little fantasy thing. I've been following his career. I knew he was going to be the best shooter on that team once he arrived.
Got him tonight.
So I feel like it's a matter of time. I think Thibodeau is just going to move in Thibodeau fashion. He's going to slowly bring him along before he hands the keys to him, because he is a rookie. And he's got a lot to learn still about the NBA game. But, again, that team needs shooting, because without him in that lineup, you got a lot of guys who need to get into the paint or get at the rack. And we know the best person to do that, or the best two guys in the starting lineup doing that, are R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle. They're off to good seasons. This is a team that, you know, now that they have a new front office, a new head coach, they're starting to have a little bit of direction, and you can clearly see it. They're in the playoff picture as of right now. And given the fact that we're dealing with everything that's happening with this season, with COVID and postponement of games and things of that nature, if that New York Knicks team can stay healthy, Tymeless, it's a very good chance the Knicks return to the postseason this season. I'm not concerned with where they're slotted. Remember, it's going to be a play-in from 7 through 10. And there's an opportunity for the New York Knicks. I like this team. I like this young talent in this direction. Some pieces probably don't fit. I know they sound like they want to move on from Kevin Knox, but he's not really being showcased, and at least he's not delivering game in and game out to where maybe he could find himself a new home and get a restart in the league. But I like the New York Knicks' future. Timeless.
Okay, Eric, your thoughts on the Knicks, if you want to, elaborate off of what Royce hit on with the potential of Knox being moved, or what you see at this point in time. They're a game under 500 on a winning streak at this point in time. I mean, I don't mean to laugh, people. I know Karma will end up busting my tail, but they're on a 2-game winning streak. Hopefully the Knicks can carry this on. Your thoughts on the Mecca boys, if you will, the New York Knicks?
I think the future is definitely bright for the Knicks. It's taken them 20 years to figure things out. The new front office, I think Coach Thibodeau was a great hire for this young squad. Julius Randle is definitely emerging into a star in this league, averaging 23 points a game, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, plays defense. Reggie Bullock has been playing really well. They got a nice young center with Mitchell Robinson, who's only going to be getting better. R.J. Barrett's getting better, and like you, Ty, I'm a big fan of Elfrid Payton. He's been facilitating the squad really nice, and he's had a lot of big games. Emmanuel Quickley, Kevin Knox, he's definitely not, he was overhyped, I think. He's definitely not living up to expectations. But this Knicks squad is well coached. They're really young. They're building chemistry. This could be a team, that's contending in the next 2-3 years. But I really think they have turned the corner. The Knicks are going to be one of these teams that are going to be in the East, in the playoffs year in and year out if they keep this squad together. So, like I said, they're only getting better. And Julius Randle, I wish he was still with the Lakers, you know what I mean? That was another Magic Johnson bonehead move, getting rid of him, because this guy always had stardom, written all over him. It just needed to come out. So if you're a Knicks fan, it's time to be excited. This is 20 years in the making that there's actually some hope, you know what I mean? They put together this great young squad. So I'm excited. I got the NBA League Pass. I watch I love the NBA. It's my favorite. So I'm watching all kinds of games and grew up watching the Knicks in the Patrick Ewing days. And, it's been, fun to turn on and see this team play. So the future's bright in New York.
First off, don't talk about Magic, because you know what happened with us in Magic in Vegas. And second, man, the Patrick Ewing days, and you got to be around these Knicks fans. There's something about calling these Knicks fans in the building. They must smell what's cooking in the building. Calling in by way of the Connecticut region of the United States, I have the villain, and he said I don't spread love, but I'm at least talking Knicks talking. They're getting love in here. Welcome to the Café. How are you feeling this evening?
Villain, I had to come in. I always thought that Nick talk. I was like, let me call in. I got to get in on this now.
Okay, so your thoughts for the start of the season? They are sitting at the top 8 right now. I'm trying to give you guys like some home cooking right now in the Café, just to let you guys elaborate on your teams at this point in time. Can they keep this going? Like I said, they're on a 2-game winning streak. I mean, it's early. It's a 2-game winning streak. I don't want to hype it up, but I know if they win like 4 or 5, everybody out here be screaming, Knicks take this, Knicks take that. But your thoughts on your boys right now, can they hang on and get better as this season progresses?
I mean, listen, you say it's only 2 straight, but, I mean, when you watch this team the last couple of years, it took them a while to win 7 games. So even being 1 game under 500 at the 15-game mark it's just a great accomplishment. And, they go up against a tough Golden State team tonight. But, listen, what everybody said is correct. I think Knox is probably one of the better three-point shooters. I don't know if they're ready to give up on him. I just think that if there's a trade out there to be had, I think he would be a logical piece to move. I think, along with Smith and Ntilikina. It's funny because, like, everybody at the beginning of the year is crying, where's Frank Ntilikina, where's Frank? And then now that IQ, Emmanuel Quickley is taking over, it's like, Frank who? So, listen, they're still a point guard away. I think Quickley is very good. I think he's still learning, but I think they need a veteran piece at point guard. I'm looking at a guy like Ricky Rubio is a nice point guard that can help this team kind of get over that hump. But, I mean, you got to give Tibbs credit. They're one of the we tweeted it a couple of days ago, that defensively one of the best teams in the league percentages-wise. So he's got them playing defense, team defense. Julius Randle is playing out of his mind. He can Tibbs can figure out how to make Julius Randle a more efficient player by not turning the ball over and being more of a facilitator, and it's helped his numbers immensely. But the Knicks still, like I said, need a point guard. I think they need shooters. They don't have enough of that. I think they have guys that can score. I mean, Barrett has had a nice season so far, very early, but very nice season. Mitchell Robinson's offense has kind of gone away, but I think because the other guys are having such a high efficiency, I think, it kind of offsets that. But shooters and point guards, I think, are what they need, but I think the energy's back. It's always good in New York area when the Knicks are going good. I mean, it's a Yankee town, it's a Giants town, but it's a basketball town first in New York. And when the Knicks are going good, I think it's just fun for the area. So I'm excited. I think they're right. I think they can get to the back half of the playoffs, get in that play-in game, and just have a little bit more excitement, and then have some two draft picks in the first round next year that they can build on and keep this thing going the right way.
Okay, we also have Sears in the building. Aaron, welcome to the Café. How are you feeling this evening?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm glad to be back in the crossover Cafe talking hoops, man. I heard my man Royce up there. What's up, my dude? E, what's up, Curry? What's up, my man? Villain. You know what I'm saying? It's weird, man. You and I popped in on the same time. They talking about these dumbass Knicks, man. What's up, man? How we doing today?
Oh,
See? But then I get in trouble if I start talking about Barry team. Everybody start coming for me. Now all of a sudden they give us some Knicks love. Now you're on my side. It's okay. So if you want to talk about the Knicks, we can, or I can move to the next piece because there's a lot to rumble around here at the Cafe.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, the New York Knicks right now are really shocking me. And here's why. When they hired Tibbs, I was one of these guys that was like, once again, Tibbs is going to go into an organization and they're not going to really buy into what he's saying. And it's not going to be a good fit. And as we sit here currently, they do play Golden State tonight, but they're a 7-8 ball club, averaging about 100 points. And, Julius Randle is literally leading the team in points and assists. At 6.1 and 22.8 points a game. So Julius Randle has really morphed into a legitimate star. I definitely think that he can, and I'm not sure how the All-Star break is going to work, but he can definitely, get some All-Star consideration based off of how he's playing to date. And, again, Barry said it as he was passing me the mic, it's good to see, these pinnacle teams that we all grew up loving and, rooting for or watching and massive games and return to somewhat prominence. And, if you can get the Knicks back on the map as being a legitimate team, the biggest issue is, free agents don't want to come sign there. People don't want to play, in the New York Knicks. That's because the culture and the environment was so toxic. But with the New York Knicks playing meaningful basketball games and winning some meaningful basketball games, and you're not hearing about a lot of extracurricular, things going on, perhaps they can attract a free agent. Perhaps they can, maybe draft, somebody, of a Zion caliber or something like that that can really put them over the top. So, I mean, as much as I want to throw shade, I really can't because, honestly, the Knicks are surprising the heck out of me and a lot of their fans right now.
And by the way, the New York Knicks are playing better basketball than the Houston Rockets. Just saying.
That's
okay,
not
so
saying much.
Are,
That's not saying much.
Yes, it is. Because the Knicks are still under 500 right now. So they got to get above 500 for them to build that go New York, go stuff. If you was out here hearing how they do that when they start winning, it'd be different. But I'm going to get away from it. Because we could get into the Rockets if we want to. But I do want to get into what happened last night, and I know that's a hot topic. I wanted to kind of save it for some more people to spill in here as best as possible, and that is what happened in Cleveland. And the crazy part about it is we were sitting right here in this doggone kitchen during the cookout, and we were going back and forth on how the Big Three looked good, but Cleveland was making it a game, and then next thing you know, they went into double overtime, and then Colin Sexton says, took off the blazer, loosened up the tie, like, he went crazy on these dudes, and it's like, now this is the talk of the day on Colin going crazy on them, and now you got people saying they don't know if the Big Three is going to work. Then you get people that saying that this is the first game, and that's how I'm looking at it. This is the first game of them actually being out on the floor together with this unit, especially with the coaching staff of Steve Nash and the assistant being Mike D'Antoni, which they both don't preach that defensive side of the ball, and that is the issue that they have. But I'm wondering how you guys feel about it. Will it remain an issue on the defensive side of the ball? Will they really go out there and just try to man up and just outshoot guys and get people out of there, putting up probably numbers of like 125 or better a night and making you try to beat that on a given basis? I want to see how you guys feel about this one. I'll throw this one around. Vinny, your thoughts on this situation, on what happened to Brooklyn last night and how they move forward after the loss with the victory being united.
I'll say this. Let me just say this first about the NBA so far this year. Everybody's going through the same thing with this COVID, and it's hard. It's really putting a lot of pressure on not just the players but everybody around the organization and everything. So adjustments just naturally have to be made within it, and it definitely affects like the game a little bit. You can tell because I feel like just watching some of the basketball this year, there's been like blowouts that just really shouldn't be blowouts. Like a couple of times I saw Milwaukee actually just showed up and just got ran off the court by I forget who it was. I think it was Golden State of New York. But so like things are a little bit off. I feel like it's gonna take a little bit for them to kind of get into their groove. But with that, the cream always rises to the top, and the best players. This is a players' league. Always end up in the playoffs and making moves. Last night, what happened with the Nets, I think, and I think it also happened more often than people think, is that they just don't have the chemistry yet. They don't have the gel. They're not vibing together, and so then teams who get amped up and want to beat the big three, and big three is not so hard to beat when they haven't really played together very often. And KD had one hell of a game too. He really stepped up and showed, tried to carry the team, and they have those individuals that can do that. It's hard. It's really hard. I say the loser in the whole thing with them will probably end up being Kyrie, because he's people have said he's tough to play with. I mean, like, first of all, LeBron's the best. He's just the man among boys in the NBA, and he makes everybody better. But he didn't have it easy with Kyrie in Cleveland. I mean, they got a championship, they got the finals together, but they definitely had butted heads. And I think that those egos, those three big egos, I mean, I don't know how, like, every coach has to deal with that and get the players to gel on the same page and all that. In the NBA, it seems like a more difficult job because the egos are just so big. It's such a players' league. I mean, that's what matters more than the coach. I don't even remember Thibodeau's name. But you tell me about the players, and I'm like, fantasy and what's going on with every single one of them. And that brings us to the point of having a good coach, a really good coach, is going to be able to make that gel. I mean, is it Nash? I can't say no. I like seeing coaches come into the game that have played, that know how they do it, especially point guards, because you really got to know plays and defensive schemes and all that. So I'm a Nash fan. I think he was a good for the league in a lot of ways. As a player and as a coach, I'm rooting for success. I don't know if it's going to be this Nets team. I just don't like it. I like Levert. I really like him. I think he's a great player. I don't like that they lost him. I think that getting, in my opinion, getting Harden with the Nets was bad. Wasn't the right move. I think that I understand why they did it. They got Durant on a 1-year deal, and they want him to stay. And they want to show that they're making a push for the championship, and I get that. That's fine. But as a team, I don't like them. I don't think they're as good with Harden as they would have been without him. That's my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. I just think that there's too many balls to go around. It doesn't fit. It's kind of like OKC when they had Westbrook, Durant, and Harden. They were all really young. It was almost like they were great, but it was just too many. And they had it perfect, if you remember, because they had Harden coming off the bench. That actually worked out better for them. And they had Ibaka too on that team. Let's not forget, all young guys. But it almost like that was like you can look at things that fit. Like we look at Simmons, doesn't really fit with Philadelphia a little bit sometimes. And like this Nets, I don't see how it fits. They're going to have to surprise me, but I don't think it's a good deal. And I can see why they lost, but they're not going to be challenged for a little bit.
Okay,
that's me.
One, I wanted to talk about what happened in the game last night. And two, you're making this look like this is Harden's issue. Harden just had 3 straight triple-doubles since he got here. Like, I don't know how this is a James problem when he's getting the ball out, too.
I was in a different network.
I was in a different network, and they're saying that James should man the ship at the point guard position, but I think that's something that we would have to see if Kyrie would buy into, would be in the two. But that's an interesting system if they ran the two-guard set. Royce, your thoughts on the situation with what went down in Brooklyn last night and with them moving forward? I mean, do you agree with Vinny that this is a problem with Harden being moved there? I'll let you elaborate on what's been said and where you'd like to take it also.
Oh, yeah. I'll just speak for myself, man. Last night's contest was a great showing for both teams. Look, Sexton was back coming off the injury. He had an outstanding performance. It was the first chance to see the new pieces from that trade, Taurean Prince and Jared Allen with Drummond, and Yeti Osman took advantage of his opportunity with all the attention on Kyrie and James and KD and what's expected from the Brooklyn Nets. And it was just from the outset, you knew this game was just going to be about who could hang the most points on the board. And I think we were all maybe a little stunned that Cleveland was actually able to hang with them and keep on getting bucket after bucket after bucket. And I've been hearing it ever since James Harden was mentioned as a trade piece to Brooklyn. All the naysayers about, what it's going to do to the team. Like a lot of people would think that after last night's game, if they're not checking the box score, they was like, oh, well, Cleveland out-rebounded Brooklyn. Well, by box score, they actually didn't. But if you're watching the game and you're saying Cleveland out-rebounded them when it counted late in the game, then you would absolutely be correct. But the Nets were not out-rebounded as a team, even though Cleveland, perception-wise, is the bigger team with guys who told a heftier, if you will, rebound average. All that being said, game 2 of Harden Durant, or game 3 of that, but game 1 of the trio. So I'm not really worried about what the future holds for this team. I think the general manager is astute enough that he will address what needs to be addressed if it's really a personnel issue. At the same time, you got a first-year head coach, but we know he's smart as a whip in Steve Nash, and it's just a matter of time. Let's just see how these three guys, along with the rest of the squad, come together and establish their defensive principles and identifying where they will be and where they should be so they can get that thing on the string. And once they do that, it's going to be hard-pressed for a lot of teams to outscore them when they're capable. Look, 135 points is enough to win a game. But when Cleveland is playing above their head and they shoot 50% from three, that's not a team that you're going to look up night in and night out and watch them shoot 20 of 40 from three-point range. It's not going to happen on most nights. And when you look at KD and Joe Harris, it wasn't their fault. They were not to blame, but these guys were below their average from behind the arc in terms of percentage. So if you get their season's average or their career average from behind the arc, you possibly have a completely different outcome. Great game by Cleveland. Let's give them their love. Let's highlight Colin Sexton. He's playing phenomenal. There's a lot of pressure on Colin Sexton being, really the only life after trading away Kyrie Irving and LeBron and all that, and everything was hanging on that one pick in that draft and it being him. And so he did his job last night. So I'm excited for Cleveland, and I'm definitely not worried about the Brooklyn Nets, Thomas.
And there's been different personalities around this. Eric, your thoughts on what's going on in Brooklyn, and do you agree with Royce? Do you think this is an issue? Especially on the play last night where we were discussing this about the, the back and forth that went down until they got into double overtime and Cleveland took off.
Like we talked about last night, the bottom line is I'm concerned because this reminds me of the early 2000, mid-2000 Phoenix Suns team. The run and gun, best offensive team, but they cannot play defense. Harden, Irving, and Durant are going to get along fine. They're going to be able to play together. That's not the issue here. The issue is them being able to play defense. So it was a great game last night. No, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But if you kind of look at that score, neither one of those teams were playing defense. So, and you gotta play consistent defense in this league to win championships. So, giving 147 up to the Cleveland Cavaliers, their first game together, is kind of alarming. But it's Mike D'Antoni, Steve Nash. So they are not defensive mind coaches. Things are going to have to change. They're going to have to play defense in Brooklyn for them to be successful. I mean, just like the Suns did, they had great records in the regular season, but come playoff time, you got to have defense to beat these top teams in a 7-game series. So you don't want to get into shootouts like this. But Allen went off, Prince went off. They played hard. This was their former team, so they wanted to go out and prove something. You know what I mean? So they both had really good games. Colin Sexton went off. This is a guy that has the potential to be a star in this league. So Cleveland drafted him high, for that reason. If he can start playing like this on a consistent basis, it's not a surprise that, he's able to put up these type of points, because that's the player that this guy is capable of being. But the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to have to play defense, folks. There's no way around it. I mean, yeah, you can put up, 135 points, but what's the big deal if you're giving up 147? So, and that's to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's not one of the, top teams in the Western or Eastern Conference. So they're going to have to buckle down and all play defense. Durant's going to have to play defense. Harden's going to have to play defense. And Kyrie Irving are going to have to play defense. They're going to have to lead by example with this team. As we talk, TP, DeAndre Jordan's completely worthless down in the paint. So, so I mean, it's terrible. So, but the Nets definitely they can build on this. The future is going to be bright in Brooklyn if they can build off these guys. Like I'm definitely not on the bandwagon saying they're going to win a championship this year. There's just no way. They lost too many valuable role players in that trade. So, and it's kind of alarming how many first-round picks they gave up. So it's going to be an attractive place just because the name's there, so they may be able to do well in free agency. But if they don't play defense, this is what we're going to be used to. They're going to be putting up 90 to 100 points, between them three, and still losing ball games. So if they get together and play defense, this team is going to be really they're going to be one of the best in the league, because to have those three caliber players on a team, we haven't seen that in years. So it's pretty special to be able to witness that. But they're going to have to bring it together and gel as a team and play some defense, and then this team will be unbeatable.
There's a song by DMX called Get At Me, Dog. I don't like the point fingers, but DMX said, I don't want to, but I have to. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny that Eric brings that up. What is Brooklyn going to be able to do to get up big? They need a 5 or a 4 that could stretch themselves to play the 5. I don't want, well, not for my own personal reasons, but I wouldn't like to see KD try to stretch himself from 3, 4, or 5, trying to be that extra guy that can stretch the floor. They need somebody that can actually contest shots consistently, rebound consistently, and be that defensive anchor that they need. Because right now, the fingers that are being pointed at DeAndre Jordan, and they need more out of him, especially with them moving Jared Allen. Just like it was said, this was more of a run and gun situation in Phoenix, and the way it was orchestrated through D'Antoni and the floor general being Steve Nash. This is kind of what he was taught, and it's been implemented through a guy like James Harden, who was just with D'Antoni for a couple of years too. So it's kind of like they're trying to pick up the pieces and make him and Kyrie get it together on both sides of the floor. But at the end of the day, scoring is a part of the game, yes, but they do have to get stops. And they can't just – stops can't be just let them shoot the ball and hope they miss. That's not a given stop at the end of the day. So what can Brooklyn do to get a big to help them out? Sirius, I'll let you kick that one off. Your thoughts on Brooklyn, especially where we talked about it a little bit during the show last night, and you could build off of what I just threw out with them trying to get somebody else to help in the paint as well.
You know, gentlemen, I mean, I kind of echo a lot of the sentiments that are being spoken about here, but I want to take a different spin on it. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, you got KD, you got Harden, you got Kyrie, you know, who are going to be playing heavy minutes, you know, come crunch time, and, you know, are going to be responsible for close to 90% of your scoring output. You know what I'm saying? So you're asking where these other role players come into play. You know, Jeff Green is playing exceptionally well right now, you know, averaging double figures and really, you know, hitting his jump shot exceptionally well. You got a couple other people, Joe Harris, who, like my man Roy said a little bit ago, just shoot the ball well last night. I think that had a lot to do with, you know, the reemergence of Kyrie Irving and you know, what he brings to the table and whatnot. So I'm really not worried per se about the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, they're going to be a tough out, you know, any night you know, you have it. And I liken the Brooklyn Nets to, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFL. I mean, you're going to get people's best shots because you arguably got, you know, some of the best players in the game. You know, and then you times that by the fact that, you know, former players that were once there and now in Cleveland. So last night's game, honestly, was a filling out process, if you ask me. Now, if we're still having the same conversation, you know, a month from now, you know, when we start getting into, you know, playoff positioning and seeding and things of that nature, and then, you know, we may have to, you know, push the pause button and, you know, kind of give us cause to pause. But for right now, I'm not even worried about it. As you're speaking about the acquisition of a big man, we went through a couple of the names yesterday on the show, and honestly, I really think they need to go back and speak to Cleveland. I think they really need to speak to Cleveland. I mean, I think that Cleveland has a ton of big names and big men to offer. There are a couple that we forgot to mention that I'm about to pull up right here that, you know, you could potentially go out and get. Let me see. Tyson Chandler comes to mind. I'm not sure what's going on with him, if he's retired or not. They need a big that can help out DeAndre Jordan or help out, you know, on the low block. Tristan Thompson is over in Boston, who, you know, could possibly be moved or, you know, done something with. With that being said, I know they don't have first-round capital, but these GMs and these managers can figure out a way to get done what needs to get done. So it's going to be curious to see what happens with them. I do agree with my man Eric said. They are going to have to play better defense, but I think that comes with just playing together and chemistry. One thing that I do know as James Harden was a member of the Houston Rockets, you know, he always played the passing lanes. He never shied away from playing defense. As the latter part of his, you know, tenure in Houston got there. He got with Chris Paul, even though he and Chris Paul had it out. Chris Paul, in practice, whatever, taught him how to, you know, play defense, and his defensive prowess, you know, got up at, you know, as that whole thing progressed. KD, you know, chased down blocks in the second and third. His length alone and his overall skill set is enough to annoy and bother potential offensive weapons and offensive people. So, again, they do need to strap up on defense, but defense is more about chemistry and less about personnel. So once these guys get chemistry, they understand where they're going to go, whether they're switching on piss, whether they're fighting under or over this, that, and the third, whether they, you know, are trapping here when they see this type of look, or whether they're going to, you know, pop into a zone and do many different things. I think that comes over time. Keep in mind, this is the second game that, you know, Katie and James Harden played together. The first game that they all three played together, and we're sitting here talking about they're not going to make playoff, or they're not going to, you know, win a championship. I have a hard time understanding how these three men are not arguably the favorites coming out of the East. I mean, I know Giannis is a freak of nature, but I don't see, once these three men start to collab and gel together and get in the film room and get on the practice court and figure things out, I think it'll work. Tymeless mentioned yesterday that they played together in the Olympics, and I mean, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, they know each other, but it's a whole different ball game. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out.
Well, if you leave it to me, I'm going to say it like this. They need to set up some mafia deal or some drug deal. Go down to Orlando and tell Mickey Mouse, yo, we need Nicholas Vukovic right now. Like cough him up because y'all not doing nothing with him. He's sitting up here putting up gaudy numbers, and Orlando will be a team that can get to the playoffs but won't, ruffle any feathers. You know what I'm saying? So get him out of there. Bring a guy like him there so they can get him on the cheap, unless Orlando want to, hold these guys hostage. That's one guy that I think that they could probably try to finagle if they could while they still are building around the youth there, but they are dealing with injuries, so I don't know if they would make that happen now, but they should, or if they wanted to. But I think Brooklyn would be just fine. Just like it was said, between the three of them, they could give you anywhere from 80 to 95 points, and I don't feel like I'm reaching at that. Like, Harden has put up 3 straight triple-doubles comfortably. Even with the return to Kyrie, put up a triple-double. And KD was 2 rebounds away last night from a triple-double. So, I feel like this team offensively has it. They just have to get the stops and make sure they get a hand in the passing lane or keep a hand in somebody's face. I'm not telling you to be, Gerald Wilkins or Ruben Patterson or Nate McMillan. I'm not telling you to be these guys, but, try to bog down on defense so you can get these stops and threaten the teams that are going to give you their best shot on the offensive side of the ball when they get it, i.e. when Colin Sexton's seen those opportunities, knowing that these guys are laxing off, I'm going to take the shot and bury it, and I'm a professional player now. You can't look at me as a rookie anymore. I know what's going on in this league. You're going to give me the shot, I'm going to take it. Believe me, I'm going to take it.
Didn't this just happen, though? I feel like with the Nets, they traded for the Bruce Paul Pierce and Garnett, and they gave up all their picks, and they just kind of went for it with these guys, and then they swung, and then they were in the gutter for a little while with no picks, and everybody was laughing at them. I feel like they just
LeBron
did the same
James.
thing. They just didn't. No, LeBron James. No, they traded for.
No, I'm watching
Kevin
the
Garnett.
game. My fault. I'm watching the game. My fault. I'm watching the game.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot I wasn't on mute. My bad.
Yeah. Well, why does Giannis have 9 turnovers? I mean, this guy needs to. He's all right. He'll be all right. But yeah, no, I see the comparison there. I see the comparison there with the Nets. Like, everything's kind of repeating itself, and they're making the same mistake. Because if they swing and miss this year and they don't get into the playoffs, they don't make a run. I mean, these guys are going to leave. Like, Durant's got the 1-year deal. Kyrie, he's really, I don't know what to say with him. He's here and there. And then just going to kind of break apart. So I think they're just taking a chance. They're making a splash. They're going to get people talking about them. We're talking about them. But at the end of the day, there's not enough basketball. They're individually top 10 in the league, but they're on the same team. I don't know how you can make that work.
I'm not too sold on it being not enough basketball. I think they'll get that figured out. I think this is a guard-heavy team, including the head coach and the assistant coach. D'Antoni played the guard position, funneled down to Steve Nash. Steve Nash being an MVP himself, and knowing Kyrie and them looked at him like that, and knowing how James Harden worked with D'Antoni, I think that they'll get it. This is just the third game, and it's comments like those that feel like they're not going to get it figured out. I think other teams are going to have to figure them out after a week of play. They've only been through half a week of play. They've only been together. Well, 2 of them been together since since Harden got to Brooklyn. Kyrie just got back. So, I think once they get a full week of play and learning people's hot spots and then buying in on communicating defensively, I think that's when people need to worry about Brooklyn. I'm not worried about them having one ball on the floor and making sure that Kyrie's happy, Harden's happy, and KD's happy. Because to be honest, I've seen majority of KD's career, and he deferred to Russ a lot. He let Russ get the shots off. Russ will end up taking more shots, and KD still would lead the league in scoring. Still, so I'm not worried about that. Ultimately, their defense has to get better, and they definitely, to me, I think the problem is defense and definitely the big. They need a solid 5. DeAndre Jordan is not it. I think we're seeing a shell of DeAndre Jordan. He was guarded and in LA with the Clippers running with Blake and Chris Paul and company. Right now, there's no guarding him by the players in front of him. He has to man up and play ball. If not, he will be the one that the microphones will be in front of at the end of the game in the tunnels in front of the locker rooms. Okay, so I'm gonna make this interesting because I'm gonna go out west. I'm gonna take this one out west, right? And this is something that was being talked about in the kitchen before, and now this has become an issue. On the good note for this team, can Golden State be a number 4 team out west? They are sitting at 5 right now, of half a game behind Phoenix, which I feel like this can interchange at any given moment, especially with them playing the Knicks. I think Golden State should win this game, but funny things have happened. But they are playing good. They are playing up against the likes of the best teams in the West and making comeback wins, including a 17-point deficit that they came back and beat the Lakers in Staples Center. They came back from 22 down up against the Clippers, where I felt like the Clippers had the extreme edge. I don't care if they were in San Francisco or if they were in the middle of Los Angeles. I felt like the way that Kawhi and Paul George were cooking that game, that there was no way that Golden State could fight their way back. And in comes the old Chef Curry and started cooking and getting these guys back into the games. And now, you know, you got guys like Kelly Oubre that people were talking about here in the kitchen, so on and so forth, that these guys are buying into the system and knocking down shots. Your guys' thoughts on Golden State, can these guys at least be a top 4? I want to be fair. I don't want to say number 1 in the West, even though the potential is there. They're 2.5 back from the Clippers and the Lakers because both the Lakers and the Clippers are tied at 11-4 in the West. I want to see how you guys feel about this Golden State team sitting out west. I'll come to you first, Eric.
I don't think they got enough to be in the top 4. Nothing against them, but the West is just stacked. You know, you got the Clippers, the Lakers, the Utah Jazz, the Phoenix Suns, and the Nuggets, which are off to a slow start, but I look for them to be back up in the mix. You know, it's still early on in the season. With that being said, though, the Warriors are playing phenomenal right now. They came back against the Lakers, and then they went in and crushed San Antonio, 121-99. So, Wiseman, he's going to be a star in this league. Oubre Jr., he's going to be a stud in this league too. So they got some good pieces. Steph Curry is back to the normal Steph Curry we're used to seeing. If Draymond Green gets going, he's been off to a sluggish start. Hasn't really been scoring too much. But if he gets going, I do like their bench too. They got Bazemore, Paschal. Excuse me. So this team definitely does have the depth. They're just a little young. They got to gel. They got to get chemistry. But I really like what I'm seeing from the Warriors. So I expected them to be in the dumps this year. But they got a great pick in Wiseman. He's definitely going to be a star. Already having some big games and getting himself in the mix. So I don't think they're going to be a top 4 team just yet. Definitely could be a playoff contender this year for sure, no doubt about it. But the West is just extremely loaded. So it's going to go down to the last week probably with the final 8. You got everybody all bunched up. I like what they're doing. I just don't see them being a top 4 team with, the likes of the Lakers, the Clippers, the Jazz, the Suns, and the Nuggets. And, you can even throw in the Trailblazers. They, can get going. They're off to a slow start, too. So I just don't see them closing in that gap this year.
I need to see consistency out of Portland before I put Portland in front of them. And to be honest, the Warriors treat the Blazers like a little brother out there. That's the little brother that you noogie or, get a wedgie to, all of that other stuff. Portland has not played the Warriors consistent, and I still feel like it's like Dame loves to go back and forth with Steph. And don't get me wrong, Dame got a heck of a trigger. But if I'm comparing gun for gun, Steph by far. Steph by far. But and winning games like that in the middle of the Staples Center up against the Lakers, that makes it tougher for other teams that feel like they're just going to walk over the Warriors and them having their winning ways still there. Like, they still have core pieces of Draymond, Steph, and a coach and Kerr and trying to build around that. I know this will be an up and down season, but right now they are sitting at 4 if we count the Lakers and the Clippers being tied with their record right now.
Hey, nothing, just real quick, Ty, nothing to take away from the Warriors, but watching that game, the Lakers just completely collapsed on themselves. They stopped playing. You know what I mean? There's no way it's like they did not beat a Laker team that was giving them full gas. The Lakers stopped playing. So when the Lakers were, off and running, they were beating them. The Lakers just took the foot off the gas and, lost themselves.
Hey, you go tell LeBron that. You go tell AD that. This is your clique.
Yeah, I will. They both played like garbage. They both played like crap. LeBron James only had 17 points, missing all kinds of shots. So, you know what I mean? They stopped playing.
Right. So it's not that hard
game
for them to put
start to finish.
Right. I was watching it too. So it's not that hard to put pressure on the Lakers, especially if the shooting gets involved. If KCP and Schroeder aren't hitting shots, they're going to have to hope for Kuzma to be the next gun off that bench. So this is interesting. This is very interesting. Okay, Sirius, I heard you trying to get in there. I know I call you Aaron sometimes, and Eric, it kind of sounded similar. Your thoughts on Golden State in the West, the way that they're playing ball right now makes it very interesting. And literally, honestly, Sports City, from 1 through, and it stops with my boy, 9, 10, 11. 1 through 11, it's interesting. It's like everybody's playing 500 or hovering around. This is what the West is looking like right now. And the Warriors are sitting there without Clay all season long. They had to get this done with a shotgun sitting out for the remainder of the season. Your thoughts on their play right now, and can they be a top 4 team in the West?
I'm not sure a top 4 team, but they can definitely make things interesting because at the end of the day, you got, Steph Curry, who is just playing outside of his mind right now. And honestly, I do need to say something about this before we get going. I owe Steve Kerr an apology. I do, because we sat here on these very airways and spoke about how there will be a lottery pick and how we're going to really find out if Steve Kerr can coach because he's always had, a lot of weapons around him, and he got, Klay Thompson and Steph, who arguably the best shooting backcourt, and then KD came over there, and, Dub Nation and Strength in Numbers and Strong Livingston, Iguodala coming off the bench, and I honestly didn't think that, that was his coaching. I thought he just got blessed with good talent. He's coaching his tail off right now. And he has this team believing that they can play and compete with anybody, as long as you got yourself a gun in the holster, you can win a shootout. And Steph Curry is really taking it upon himself to play exceptional ball. I'm curious to see how they look tonight versus the Knicks team, who we spoke about as better defensively. But at the end of the day, man, they have as good a shot as anybody in the West to get to the playoffs and, see what happens there. I mean, I'm not expecting them to win a championship. I'm not expecting them to win a 5 or 7 game series or anything like that. But with that being said, Steve Kerr's coaching his tail off, and that's to be commended.
Okay, Royce, your thoughts on this situation with Golden State? Can they remain at the top half of the playoff table? And I know it's early with record-wise, but I feel like they taste blood in the water and don't want to be counted out. I feel like this is something that they could partially write on the bulletin board as disrespect, and knowing that these guys were basically the team of the 2010 decade.
Well, Thomas, I'll start here with it all. While physically this is not the same Golden State Warrior team without Clay, without KD, and all those pieces that were part of them building what you might call a dynasty run. This, however, is still very much the same Golden State brain trust. So I'm thinking smartly about who we're discussing. We're talking about the Golden State Warriors, who were smart enough to make the right draft picks, when to draft, flush it out, let those guys develop, move pieces around astutely, and make the smart trades let guys develop, things of that nature, the staffing. Like, they are developing their bench. They're developing their prize rookie. They're figuring out chemistry and getting what they can from guys that, you know, some people don't like. You know, people aren't really fans of Andrew Wiggins because they had such high expectations. He got caught up in the whole tailspin of, you know, LeBron coming back to Cleveland, and he was number one pick, and LeBron didn't want him for Kevin Love, and so forth and so on. And then you got Kelly Oubre, who some of us were probably fans of. We were excited about his growth from Washington to Phoenix, and then it was like, but he don't really fit what they do in Golden State. And right before our eyes, Tymeless, the Golden State Warriors have not changed their philosophy. They have not changed their culture. It is not struggling. It is not injured. It is not suffering. There's just personnel adjustments, guys who are learning to play a different style of basketball. Playing without Klay Thompson is huge because he created, you know, that very important 2 to 4 more inches of space for Steph Curry, and we're expecting things to look the way that it used to, and it doesn't. So when it comes to where they are in the standings right now, I'm excited about it. I was one of those people who was called out of his mind for saying that they were finished somewhere in that 4 or 5 spot just because everybody's counting them out. Also for the fact of, again, this league is very, very young in its personnel on other rosters. What we have in Golden State, Thomas, is a very, very experienced, deep team in terms of knowledge at its core. They're trying to bring everybody else up with healthy bodies who've never been there as quick as they possibly can. That's going to take time. They have all 72 regular season games to get that done. And if that's the case, Thomas, I think by the time we get to the end of the regular season, we're all going to look up and we're going to be like, damn, regardless of where they are, we're going to be impressed. Draymond Green is going to be in finally, you know, game shape and ready. And, look, I'm not saying they're going to win a damn thing, but can they make the playoffs with that level of experience, with what that organization has proven that it could do? I think so. That's where I'm leaning, Thomas.
Yeah, but do you think they could be a top 4 team, 1 through 4? I think the Clippers.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they can be. They can be. If it works out, like you got to have help. That's the thing about basketball in the standings, right? Whether it's COVID, whether it's an injury, whether it's a couple of bounces off the rim or loose balls getting down on the floor and things like that. Like, these guys are going to do enough to put themselves in position. They will need help. Somebody will more likely falter. We're seeing it right now. Portland missing C.J. McCollum and not really being a defensive-oriented team. They're being exploited for just being offensive only. We saw Denver get off to such a slow start. We expected them to be a top 4 seed team, and they have been struggling to fight their way back into the playoffs. You look down at San Antonio, Thomas, and oh, my God, Pop is working his magic again before last night's loss. I think they were sitting like 8-2 or something decent and respectable, and they're doing that with who? Like, name their stars. It's never sexy in San Antonio, but they're just doing pop-type stuff. So that's all I'm saying, that if things break right, yes, Golden State can be number 4. That's where I'm going. When you say top 4, I'm already just looking at the 4 spot. I have them as a 4 or 5, but if you're asking me to pick one side or the other, I'm picking 4. They can be a 4 seed.
Yeah, because to me, I feel like they are a stronger team than the Phoenix Suns. Even though the Phoenix Suns have legit athletes and a shooter and Booker as well, I feel like Steph and company can get, wins at a bigger clip than Phoenix can. But, I mean, this is Phoenix's time. They've been in and out of the bottom half of the league and getting top pick after top pick in the draft, and them getting a notable basketball mind and Chris Paul to come there to help out. It's worked out for them in their favor. But then again, looking at the Blazers that you threw out there, this is something that people are overlooking or haven't heard about. Nurkic is out again indefinitely with a fractured wrist. And this is just 2 seasons removed from that catastrophic ankle break that he had in that game. And, them having to, move on the fly without him. He's out again. So this may hurt Portland, especially with what Royce hit on when I was talking about this with him earlier with CJ being out. And I know as dynamic CJ is, it is the Blazers with one gun. I could care less if people are hype on Carmelo. That is a shell of a former star. Carmelo is not that guy that we're used to. Where people respect the name, I respect the name also, but not right now. That's a guy that I look like he's going to be hanging those sneakers up soon. He will be hanging those sneakers up soon. So with that being said, I really feel like Golden State will be a top 4 team in the West, in the Western Conference playoff push. Can they get to the second round? I think it's doable. I think they could win that first round, but if they can push for a Western Conference final, it depends. It depends on who they play. If they play the Clippers, I feel they can do it. If they play the Lakers, I feel like LeBron have to play bully ball. He has to. But if LeBron get caught out there trying to play that, or I'm going to go shot for shot with Steph, good night. Good night. It's over. And then he'll get caught up doing that, and that's the lazy portion of LeBron where he's not working the best of his game or to the best of his ability, playing the easy way out. And he could get these guys in foul trouble by just trying to get in there or getting the defense to collapse so he can kick the ball out. But that's neither here nor there. We got a lot of time for that to unfold. But I'm not impressed with what the Lakers look like at this point in time. But they are sitting atop the Western Conference with the Clippers. And speaking of which, with the Los Angeles Clippers, it's very interesting right now that they are on a winning streak. They are tied up with the Lakers right now. Is this fool's gold, people? Is this fool's gold, people? I will say this again. This is the same team that I am not going to lie. I'm going to put myself right here on the fire of the stove. I was thinking that the Clippers had enough to take an interesting series or win the series up against the Lakers last year, and they not only had that 3-1 lead but lost it to Denver. And it's like, this does happen in sports depending on how competitive the nature may be, and, losing a head coach in Doc Rivers and having these guys go back and forth with the likes of Paul George, going at it with other people within the locker room. They're now getting it to work right now on a 5-game winning streak. Can the Clippers hang on to being the 1 seed in the West? And it's early, but I'm saying they have to play stronger ball to at least make this favorable up against the likes of the Lakers and other teams that aren't afraid of the Clippers. This is something that was discussed elsewhere outside of Sports City. And that is an interesting conversation I want to bring here. Start with you, since you're out there in the Cali region. How do you feel about the Clippers right now? Do you think this is fool's gold or what? Or do you think that they're legit and could put this competition, if you will, in front of the purple and gold?
With the Clippers, it's hard to say anything, but they're gonna fold at the end. But any team with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they have a chance to win it all. They're one of the best teams. They're one of the best teams in the league. And it's like what you talk about. It's like, will they get it together? When you talk about, I feel like LeBron should be in his own conversation, because when you try to compare, LeBron doesn't want to get into a shooting match with Steph. Like, yeah, that's true, but like, we've watched a lot of NBA in our lives. We know how it all plays out, how it works. Like, defense wins, and LeBron gets his guys to buy in, play defense, and that's. You could see it. You could just see it play out. And teams that just don't have that experience or that extra gear on defense, and they just can't get there because their offense has always gotten them there, a la Harden and Kyrie. I say Kyrie and Durant, but they've won championships, but they have a lot of help, both of them. And when I look at the Clippers, I say that they can definitely make a run in this West. They're going to be the second or the challenger to the Lakers. And Golden State, you know what? They're not done yet. See, Golden State, what they do is the opposite of Brooklyn. Look at the way their organization is run. Look at how they do things. It's like they kind of had a catastrophe with Klay Thompson here, and then again he gets hurt. It's like, I feel bad for the guy. Like, what the hell? But what are they doing? They're drafting right. Wiseman is going to be a stud. This guy is a 3-point shooter. He's big. He's already doing it in the NBA. Oubre, this guy hasn't been shooting the 3-point ball well this year. Like, he's having a good year already, and he hasn't even started hitting the 3 yet. So he's going to be. I think he's going to be good. And Draymond hasn't even started doing anything yet. So I think this team should be in the playoffs. Hats off to Steve Kerr for sure. He's a good coach. He's a good NBA mind. And Steph Curry's another one of those leaders. So there's certain like leaders that are like on LeBron and Steph Curry level that are just championship type leaders. Durant's almost there, I'll say, but not. Maybe he's one more with another different team, and then you give it to him. But once you get to that player who they don't really have egos. They want to see the other guys do good. They're team players. We really hear there's not enough balls to go around because there's Steph and Clay and Durant like that and Draymond. Like that doesn't really the issue. Like, they just gel together because if you're the best and you know you're the best and you just want to be a leader because you want to win, that type of persona energy kind of exudes into the other players and they buy into that and they start playing defense. That's why I kind of am very skeptical of a team like Brooklyn getting together and all of a sudden, digging in on defense and bringing it a championship that way. LA Clippers, they can do that because they have. I think Leonard is on that level also with the LeBron and Steph. But they're a good team. The West is going to be interesting to watch this year. They play out. But I like the way that Golden State runs their organization. I like how they do things. It's methodical. They have a foundation. It's set. They have patience. They have bad things happen, but they stick to their plan and let KD go. Okay, we're gonna take our draft pick and we're gonna get Wiseman. We're gonna sign Oubre. And we're gonna be just as good. We're gonna keep on trucking along here. And they look, once they start gelling together and playing together a little more, I think this is a team that with experience that can be. I don't know if they can make a championship, but they can make some noise. Possibly a top 14, I'll say, yeah.
Okay, we are nearing the end. So we are nearing the end. So I'm gonna need a plug and close out. Also, I'm gonna do this with everybody, getting their thoughts on this situation out here. Also,
I just want to say that.
Vinny, anything?
Thank you, Ty. Thank you guys. Thank you, Ty. Yeah, thank you guys for this. Is great, man. It's the Café talking hoops again. And watching it transpire, I love this game. I love watching these guys get drafted and kind of either mold into superstars or I don't want to say fizzle out. Too many of them fizzle out, but it's a fun game and I'm just really happy to be back here talking with you guys. Thank you. And thank you to everybody else on the show too.
No doubt, definitely we'll be right back here, right at the same back channel. Here's your thoughts on the Clippers, and I know how crazy it is right now in California. I thought that it spilled all the way into the doggone, I want to say the latter part of, the fall, or if it was going to be the Battle of L.A., and it wasn't. And the Lakers were the only thing running out in L.A. Do you think the Clippers are full gold right now, or do you think that they can legitimately put this push in front of the entire Western Conference, let alone in front of LeBron and company?
I mean, I don't want to necessarily call them fool's gold, but here's the thing. Until the Clippers prove to me and themselves that they can live up to the hype that is in front of them, I really have no energy for it. Like, you were projected to, like you alluded to, play the Lakers and, get to potentially an NBA Finals or at least the Western Conference Finals. And, we all saw what happened to them last year, and this is a common occurrence for the LA Clippers, regardless of who is on their roster. Now, people are going to say, it maybe it's Doc Rivers or this, that, and the third. I'm really not buying it. I'm really not. So, at the end of the day, show and prove. Show and prove. I do think the Clippers are a solid team. I'm not poo-pooing on their rise as of late and their success, winning ball games. But when it's go time, when the rubber meets the road and you have to get it done, there's only one guy there, in my opinion, with championship pedigree, and he struggles, to do it by himself. You know what I'm saying? And that's Kawhi. Paul George, we got memes on standby for playoff Paul. You know what I'm saying? So, and that goes back to his days of playing in Indiana. So, I digress. But with that being said, it's such a pleasure to be here with you guys on the Crossover Cafe, man. The first show of 2021 on a Thursday. I'm excited, what Sports City's doing. Shout out to all who contributed. My man Royce back there. Good to hear him back up in the building. and those who I speak to on a regular basis, man. It's such a pleasure. God bless, and Lord willing, we'll be back in this building maybe Sunday, or who knows, we may do some type of something on Friday or Saturday. Who knows? Stay tuned, man. We're doing big things here in Sports City.
And look who decides to call in right now at the end of the doggone show, talk about Tymeless. I got some food for thought. Nash, Atlanta's own. Welcome to the Cafe. How are you feeling this evening?
Yeah, man. I don't know if y'all know, but there's like a podcasting ban because I've been shutting stuff down and cooking up things so well for so long. People have tried to ban me from podcasts. I'm sorry for being so good. I'm sorry. I'm good at it. What's going on, fellas?
My man said he shut down stuff.
But I'm
not. Yo, Royce, you see what I got to deal with, man? This anyway. Is that directed to me? Are you directing that at me?
Apple treats me very unfairly. They treat me very unfairly. They don't want me on. They don't want to hear me. What's going on, y'all?
You know better than that. I wanted you to talk
right now, though, man.
I wanted you to talk your Golden State stuff. I got to get at least one person out because they do have to run. I can run this into overtime. Well, let me get Eric to close out. So, Eric, your thoughts on L.A., well, being the Clippers and you being a resident Laker fan here, your thoughts on how this could pan out for them, and if this is fool's gold, can they contest your Lakers, or do you think that this is a situation that they'll end up falling short like they did in the season previously?
Well, on paper, of course they can, Ty. You know what I mean? But the problem is when it counts in the playoffs. The Clippers, I think, are, in a sense, cursed. They're never going to be able to, live up to anything because L.A. is always going to be Laker country, no matter what. It's just, that's the way it is. Southern California is all Lakers. You got your few Clipper fans, but it's mostly just for, they're bandwagon fans. They're not real basketball fans. So, on paper, of course they can. I don't see it happening. I like Utah right now as a powerhouse in the West, but I don't see them getting it done in the playoffs. They lost Doc Rivers, who I think is a better coach than Tyrone Lue. So, they're just going to have to show me. And we'll see what it is come playoff time, but I think they're going to fall out of the, they're going to be like 3 or 4 in the West when it's all said and done.
Really? Wow.
Yes, sir. Guaranteed. And with that being said, it's been a great show. Happy to chop it up with all my brothers. Great premiere show tonight. Excited for the Crossover Cafe to be back. And we'll be doing this next week, folks. Check us out, sportscitychefs.com.
Listen, you stay tuned because I want to right now, and then so then basically you're saying that this is fool's gold because if they fall to like 3 or 4, I mean, and rightfully so because they're on a 5-game winning streak, I feel like they'll settle down and lose a game here or there, and then they'll come back to earth. But right now they're cooking. But if they fall to 3 or 4, I don't think much. Wait! I don't know who said hold on. Your thoughts? How do you feel about it? That's nice.
Yeah, before y'all put the aluminum foil on that dish, hold on real quick. The perception of the Clippers is misguided. Yes, last year was a failed chemistry experiment. You had too many pieces at the same time. You needed time to kind of gel and get that thing together. Segmented season, all of those things were acting against them. This year, you put in a couple of pieces that you didn't have, meaning Nicholas Batum, meaning Serge Ibaka. Paul George focused in a way we've never seen Paul George because he's basically playing for pride. The whole basketball world is laughing at him all summer. This dude gets in the gym and comes back on his Goku stuff. Like, give that dude his credit, man. He is balling right now. I think the Clippers are a really tough out. Matter of fact, I would say if they can avoid Denver, the Clippers could be serious trouble for anybody come playoff time because Kawhi is still Kawhi. And a refocused Paul George with those other pieces I talked about, a healthy Nick Batum, who's basically a free square. They just added him on because, Charlotte wanted to get off the contract. The Clippers are a much better team than people are giving them credit for, and you're going to see when the playoffs start. They are a tough out.
Very interesting. And
talk your ish.
Go ahead, Royce. I'll let you elaborate on top of that.
Nah. I don't got nothing to put on that. I don't piggyback.
Well, my bad. Okay, so what do you guys have now that I put a little extra time on unless okay, fair enough. You weren't here, Nash. You said that you didn't want to give any credence to Golden State. So I threw a question or a dish out there saying, can Golden State be a top 4 team approaching, the month of March and April and being in the top half of the playoff bracket West?
Whoa. Look, even, I know Royce is on the other side of this argument with me about Golden State. I've said what I said about them. They're probably not going to be as bad as I predicted. They'll be a little better. But when you go top 4, that's when we're talking about, man, that's tall grass. Them boys ain't fit to fit to roam in. If you're talking 6, 7, 8 seed, that's a great season for them. That means Curry was all NBA level and Draymond was all-star level, and the young boys, especially the young kid who could be great, James Wiseman, are coming along well, and Kelly Oubre has kind of finally settled himself and starts to play better. So this is a back of the end of the West playoff team, not a top-notch playoff team that can see top 4. Because what you would have to ask Steph Curry to do night to night for them to kind of maintain that kind of record, I think is insane. I think they're going to be in a dogfight tonight against the Knicks. I think it'll be a tough fight for them. So I just don't look at them in that way. So, no, they're not as bad as I said they would be because I said 30 wins. I just don't see a great team here. But it looks like they'll exceed that. But I'm not going top of the playoffs in the West. No.
Listen, they're sitting at 4/5 right now. I hope you know that. They are playing exceptional.
And Cleveland beat Brooklyn last night. That's nice.
I didn't put them in the discussion. Don't start mixing this up. I'm not making a fruit salad here. This is shrimp and grits. I don't know if you eat that, but this is shrimp and grits. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, they are sitting a half a game, right? So I'm looking at the standings right now. They are half a game behind Phoenix. To me, in the long-standing situation, I think they'll outlast Phoenix to at least get a higher rank as we get there. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Phoenix will outlast them unless Chris Paul got something up his sleeve and Phoenix figure out.
How many times Chris Paul got to do this? How many times Chris Paul got to do this before y'all believe? Point guard / coach is out there getting them boys ready. They playing at a slower pace. Devin Booker is actually defending well. Phoenix.
If I ask you right now,
Phoenix ain't deep enough. Nah, stop it. Give Chris Paul all his credit. Give Chris Paul all the credit he deserves. But in a series, Chris Paul Phoenix-led team would not beat that young upstart Golden State team if those guys are getting the same type of education from Steph Curry and Draymond Green because they're just a little bit deeper and they have an advantage in terms of the number of personnel who know how to win games at the end as well as close out a series. I like the upstart of what Phoenix is. I just don't think they're deep enough as a team, and I will never attempt to rob Chris Paul of what he has been doing at every stop, but that cupboard kind of bare. I'm glad Devin Booker trying to, step up on the defensive end, but you can't go 5 for 21 when you're being challenged.
Yeah, that was an interesting game. And look, I wouldn't push back on what Russ just said. I think Golden State would be a nightmare matchup for Phoenix in the playoffs if they had to play a series against each other. But when we're talking about seeding and saying that, do I think Phoenix will have a better record than Golden State? I would say yes. I think Phoenix will finish with a better record.
Okay, so we're 1-1. I feel Golden State would finish out higher than Phoenix. Royce, what do you think? Do you think Phoenix will finish higher or Golden State will have a better record?
Oh, yeah, man, I was the dude that, was ridiculously saying that Phoenix was going to put it together, that over the course of the season, they would shock the entire world and be a 4 or 5 seed. For the sake of the question you asked tonight on the program, where I felt like my hand was being held to the fire, I said 4 because that's just me. I'm optimistic. I lean that way, but I definitely have Golden State as a 4 or 5 based on the experience, based on the decision makers, like I said, in the office, on the coaching staff, the wisdom and experience. And I just believe that Kelly Oubre Jr. and Andrew Wiggins really want to be great. And unfortunately, they haven't always had the best situation and personnel and organizations around them or backing them. But for the first time, these guys at the professional level are truly a part of an organization that knows greatness and knows how to win. And so it's just about getting healthy and letting these guys play. They got a stud rookie who's learning every minute of the freaking day, man, on the fly. Just give it some time, and it's going to be an impressive team. Well, if they don't hit 4 or 5 Tymeless, I'm cool with them being 7-10 for that playoff and the edge, in my opinion. If they're not already locked in and you got to play them for a playoff spot, good luck. You don't want that.
Right. Hey, and he tried to say I'm banning him out the kitchen, man. Like at a Chinese restaurant.
No. That's not what I said. I said the whole internet,
okay.
sir.
Okay.
Widen the scope,
you know you got to.
I'm a big game hunting here. But just to piggyback on what Royce just said, though, an interesting move that Steve Kerr has made in the past week. He decided instead of letting Wiggins run with the second unit on the first rest for the starters, he would give that to Kelly Oubre. And Kelly is starting to play a little better because of it. It's just a nice, small coaching move where you see a guy who's talented that's struggling, and you're trying to figure out a way to get him in the best position, to be successful. That was a beautiful thing by Steve Kerr. We'll see how he plays tonight. But, yeah, lately, been playing a lot better, looking like himself.
So, I don't know where we stand here, but I know this. He better calm down on that 30. I was like, listen, I don't know. I don't want to see the Warriors do good because of the way that they was beating everybody up when they had all of the guns in Oakland. But it's like I didn't want to say 30 and then, push it to 40. Like be fair now. They're sitting at 8-6 right now, and it is an interesting run with them up against the Knicks right now. I feel like the Knicks can make this interesting, but I feel like the latter point when the Warriors have had enough, they could probably make that push and get these guys out of San Francisco as best as they possibly can. I know I may push the needle on Royce here, right? But I want to see how you guys feel about, pieces getting moved out of Sacramento. Now, this is something that I talked about previously in a different area, a different show. And they have pieces there that I feel that are underachieving. They have a guy that both me and Royce are high on, and De'Aaron Fox, and knowing that they probably end up giving them half of the city of Sacramento, it just doesn't even look like they're going to be able to be competitive. There are guys on that team that are streaky, and I'm calling you out, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. Like you are a guy that can hit shots and don't take the shot. You're passive to be a bomber. He's a shooter and won't take those shots. And Marcus Bagley, to me, I feel like he's underachieved. I feel like he can be better. To me, and my brother loves this slogan. It's from a movie called Life. And when A.K.A. Ray, A.K.A. Eddie Murphy said soft with a capital T, S-O-F-T, soft, and he was getting at him. That's how I feel the rest of this team is looking, especially with the issues with a guy like, I was going to say Bill Walton, Luke Walton running the show. And Luke Walton has not had a good, coaching resume or regime anywhere that he's gone.
Let's get to that. Yeah, let's get to that part first. Before we discuss personnel, let's get to that part. Organizationally, the owner, terrible owner, one of the worst owners in NBA history. He's done a terrible job as far as who he hires and how much he empowers them. You remember the Vlade Divac years. Then we go to the second part, Luke Walton. Terrible coach, son of a Hall of Famer, all-time great, who has probably gotten further in the NBA than he actually deserves, meaning an extended career and then head coaching opportunities that he probably wasn't ready for, and with more seasoning, he might have been better. He's terrible at his job as far as rotations. He's terrible at his job as far as understanding that they need to really defend. They have young legs and they're fast, You're not going to outrun everybody because you're so bad defensively that it's just a layup line. Now, Fox, of course, he's been great this year. I think he's what we expect. Buddy Hield up and down. It becomes a point to where Tyrese Halliburton should be playing more because you got something with that young kid. Where with Buddy Hield, I mean, he should have been traded weeks ago. 2 years ago on this show, I said the Kings should trade for Andre Drummond. And most of the league was down on Drummond at the time, but now I think people are starting to understand, look, Drummond's never going to be what people thought, but what he is actually good enough. And he would have been really good with Fox in the pick and roll. They could have done some interesting things. Now, they need to overhaul that roster. This is not a playoff team. You got pieces that don't fit, and sadly, when these guys leave, they're probably going to flourish in other places, especially Buddy Hield, especially the young four. What's his name? I can't even think of it right now. But
Bagley.
What's his name?
Bagley. That's what I was saying. Bagley.
When they yeah. Go ahead, Russ. Go ahead. But yeah, they're probably going to flourish when they leave.
Yeah, you nailed it. I would agree. I would have liked to have seen something like a Drummond there in Sacramento. But look, the organization is what it is. The smartest thing they did thus far is to secure De'Aaron Fox. I would love to see them to continue to work with Fox, Halliburton, Bagley, and Rashawn Holmes. Like right now, that's what I'm excited about when I watch them. You know, Harrison Barnes is all right. I mean, like, it's cool if you just putting out 5, but, you know, it's not moving the needle, right? So, as Nas said, I mean, clearly you got to shake things up. Buddy Hield's not happy with Luke. Luke's not happy with Buddy. They don't mesh. It's not fitting. We're at a point where Buddy's career will have come and went, and we're all going to be looking like, damn, we really expected to see something different when he was coming out of Oklahoma. So what Buddy needs, he needs a winning organization, he needs to be on a winning team, and he needs a J.J. Redick kind of role, period, right, where you cover this guy on the defensive end, you understand his deficiencies, or you put him, send him somewhere like Indiana. But I'm sorry. We got a new Indiana. It's not the old Indiana. But my mind ran real quick and grabbed snapshots of Rip Hamilton and Reggie Miller, those types of things. He needs that kind of game, that kind of team system where he's running around off the picks and pin downs and all that, catching and shooting and just popping and becoming a featured guy to really be a threat. Because the way they're playing him right now, and he has played as a pro, his shot will come and go, ebb and flow. So he just needs something different. So, yeah, Nas killed it.
Okay, just wanted to throw that one out there. I would love to see it, either transformed into something better, and just like he said, top to bottom, and definitely something I back off. I didn't want to just like totally point the fingers, but like I said before, DMX made a song called "Get at Me, Dog." Not because I want to, because I have to. You know what I'm saying? So like Luke Walton, you have been
so
famous
don't
because
make
of your
me
father.
show you what the Mac do.
What the Mac do? Look. And if you don't know by now, then you slipping. So like Luke Walton, I know you've been getting by because of your last name, and that organization, just like Nas was hitting on upstairs, how they don't have it together, how they don't want to have the big, interesting pieces come there. They're just going to see fit with what they have, and they have an interesting amount of talent to get the job done, but there's a lot of them that are passive-aggressive and take the game as it comes, and they know that they're in the Western Conference. Like, they have to do a lot more. They can't just be hovering around games and just content with what they're doing. They got to win games. Like, this will be like this for probably 2 to 4 years if they don't change the chemistry, change the atmosphere out in Sacramento. This is not the Arco Arena Kings where they got Bibby throwing a jump shot, turning around, talking to the crowd, Bibby, or C. Webb with the spin move hook. You don't have none of that. So you got to build that up, and I guess we more or less look at it being built around Fox and going from there. Buddy, like I said, buddy, when you are on,
it's like buying a puzzle and throwing the box away to look at the picture. You're trying to put the pieces together without having the picture to kind of look at. They're just badly built. The pieces don't fit. It doesn't work, and they haven't been willing to be aggressive enough in trades to kind of patch everything up. And like you said, the veteran Harrison Barnes, limited as he is, he's playing 35 minutes a night for them because he's the one with the highest basketball IQ on the team to try to get everything together. But it's only so much you can do, man. Like it's a layup line every night. And Royce brought up Rashawn Holmes, which is interesting. When Rashawn learns to defend the post without fouling, he is going to be a problem because foul trouble is the only thing holding that dude back. Like, that dude will go off on almost anybody most nights. He's hardworking, really talented guy, and he might be somebody else who might benefit from getting out of there. It's like Alcatraz, baby.
Facts. He keeping Hassan Whiteside on the bench. You hear me? And Hassan had an outstanding season last season, but he can barely get on the court and contribute in Sacramento because Rashawn Holmes is that guy that's fitting that system. He fits with the notables that are there, and that's some of the bright spot when you watch Sacramento.
Hell yeah!
Look at this. Look at this. I put some food down, and these dudes turn this joint into apple. They eat everything or kicks. Mommy, he likes it. Okay. I got one quick topic before we get up out of here, right? And I'm going to start a little trouble, right? And I don't know if it's trouble. I just want to see how y'all feel. And this is something that was thrown at me and Royce earlier today, right? And Sports City, I'm going to be the bad guy right now. I really am. I want to start trouble. They were so hyped at the beginning of this season with Luka Doncic being the favorite to win the MVP. And I get it. It's early. It's basically the first month of the season. As of tomorrow, it'll be a month played in the NBA, and they're sitting at 500, so I got to give them some credit for where they stand, and they have played a good amount of games. I don't want to say a few, a good amount of games without Kristaps Porzingis. How do you feel Dallas is right now sitting outside of the top 8? Now, I think they are a team that could potentially still make the playoffs. I'll give them that. I feel like they will put together a string of wins to put them in the discussion. But right now, they're at 9, and of course it's like we've been mentioning the play-in game, so on and so forth. But I feel like upsets can happen. I feel like that a lot of people are ready to play the Mavericks. A lot of people are going to wait for Luka to throw that step back up, and that three wasn't falling at the early portion of the season. Does this remain to be an issue for the Mavericks, or do they get this and become one of the strengths within the Western Conference? I'd say 1 through 8 or 1 through 10, however you want to put this together. Royce, I'll come at you. Your thoughts on Luka and the Mavs?
Man, I almost had to ask you to say it again, but you summed it up. Just asking my thought about Luka and the Mavericks. I apologize, man. Somebody hit me on a message and distracted me. Look, the Dallas Mavericks is all about health and Carlisle as the head coach. They seem to be in love, the general manager ownership. They love Carlisle, the way he runs things. I don't think all the player personnel likes it, but it is what it is. Clearly, it's Luka's team. KP is always, a healthy, in terms of his health, it's always a work in progress thus far. Hopefully, the remainder of this season, he can be available game in and game out and start to get some traction there in Dallas. Tim Hardaway Jr., look, man, for all the work that he puts in, for me, just too many nights of inconsistency. I haven't yet figured out why his shot is so inconsistent, how he could 1 minute go for 26 or 30-plus points, and then the next night he'd be, 0 for 10 or 1 for 15. And then I can see that it doesn't have anything to do with the schedule. I just can't figure out what's going on with his game. I like some of the pieces, the Maxi Kleber piece. I think it was cool for them to pick up a guy like Cauley Stein, give him the opportunity to continue to try to, get back to being the guy that he was in Sacramento when he was being effective. Man, I don't know, bro. A lot of people are high on him. Carlisle just does a phenomenal job coaching. That's just the bottom line. He finds a way and Luka is just that good as well. He's that good that he helps this team be competitive, find their way into postseason play, and take it from there. And, whether you think the league has anything to do with that or not, that's a whole other conversation, more like a hot take. But, I like the Mavericks a little bit, but I'm not high on them. I think they might be the best dynamic duo in position to attack once LeBron and AD are really no longer an item. So long as LeBron and AD are the item, they stand in the way of the duo that is Luka and KP, provided Luka and KP are healthy. When those guys are healthy, they are what you might call the European version of LeBron and AD, in my opinion, period. So, I like them, but, I'm not high.
Sports City, we do have breaking news.
Well, look.
We do have breaking news. Oh, wait. Hold on. I'll let you get in, and then we got to close out, too. We do have breaking news. The Houston Rockets are acquiring Cleveland Cavaliers' Kevin Porter Jr. for a future protected second-round pick. So that just happened a minute ago from Adrian Wojnarowski.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Stupid.
Yo, listen, I'm going to give it to Sports City first because I am here right now. The Rockets just lost James Harden via trade. The Rockets have just acquired the son of James Harden. His name is Kevin Porter Jr., okay? This guy's game is a knockoff. It's going to be up to Coach Silas to give him the opportunity to play with the ball in his hands. But most importantly, before that happens on the court, this kid's got to get mature. If he doesn't get mature off the court, right, if his head isn't right, he will not deliver the goods of what his potential holds. But if you watch him on film, you're going to see shades of James Harden's game and influence upon him. All these great players have young students of the game, guys who are watching, who want to get to the league, and they identify a star and say, hey, I want to be like that guy. And clearly, if you're watching basketball, Kevin Porter has identified James Harden, and, man, this guy's game is a knockoff, and he's really good. Just check some of the numbers when he was in Cleveland, when he was available and playing the last few seasons. I like this for the Houston Rockets. Next to a young Christian Wood, who people are starting to learn about, Victor in the last year of his deal, trying to figure out where he wants to go with his career. This is a great turnabout of events for the young head coach, Steven Silas. He has a young, talented player that he could work around. I'm not going to say build around because he's still looking like it. It's something that he's got to, deal with and mature beyond. But I like it, Tymeless. I like it.
Yeah, look, let me just say first when Tymeless sent the text, I thought it said that Brooklyn had acquired him, and I was about to get mad. I was about to say, LeBron said, I'm 36. What are y'all doing? I thought he said Brooklyn, which would have been a great move. So let me take the other side of where Royce took it. Cleveland. This is called a weak organization. When you have a young, talented kid who is still a kid, when they start to make mistakes or they're irresponsible and immature and make mistakes, you know what you do? You send them home and you find them. You don't trade him for a second round or whatever scraps you got for him. You keep him on the roster, you make him take the tough medicine, and you try to work out whatever issues he has so that he can become what he's actually worth if you are going to move him. You don't move him after he gets into an off-the-court incident this summer, and then he has a blow-up amongst the team where he's throwing stuff at people in the locker room. That's not when you trade him. You're trading him at his lowest value. Stupid trade by Cleveland. They should have had a lot more, I guess you say gumption, to keep him on the squad. Beautiful move by Houston. You got a great asset for nothing. If it works out, great for you. If it doesn't, you didn't lose anything because you didn't spend anything to get him. But as Roy said, this kid is really talented, and he could be a part of your rebuilding process. Of course, he ain't the main piece, but he could be a part if he gets his life together. This is a really, really young guy, and I really hate when organizations do stuff like this, because to me, it shows you don't have the conviction to say, this guy's messing up, we're going to punish him, but we're damn sure not giving him away to somebody else so they can reap the benefits of the talent that we scouted and picked and had in place to roll with that duo you have, Sexland and Cleveland, to roll with them and become something. You just gave them away for nothing. So I'm more against Cleveland on this. But salute to the Rockets, man. You found a sucker, and you made a move.
That's hilarious. And also elaborate on, because I cut you off, your thoughts on Dallas and the Luka situation, how everybody was so hyped on him at the beginning of the season, and I think he's going to have to rebuild that aura to get people to have faith in that favorite MVP talk, or if people just eclipse him and he'll just play the same Luka ball that we've seen for the past couple of seasons.
Well, they're going to play the same Luka ball. That part's not going to change. I think the MVP thing is out of the window because I just don't see them having a season to where they're so dominant that the brilliance of Luka means he gets MVP. I think somebody else gets it. But I do think they're getting that top 8. They've been playing without Porzingis. He just came back. He's been there for 3 games. I think he's playing 30-plus minutes, so I'm assuming he's healthy. And they're going to roll. They're going to get things together, and they're going to be a playoff team, and they'll be a tough out as well because no matter what, you got to deal with that pick and roll with Luka and Porzingis. I don't care who you are. You're not really fit roster-wise to deal with that in a good way. Now, I'll introduce some language to the lexicon. Y'all can use this, but you got to pay me $1.99 every time you use it. Now, organic triple-doubles are when we see a game flow and somebody just happens to be scoring and also facilitating in a way that they make a triple-double possible. Now, artificial triple-double, that's what we see with Luka and sometimes James Harden in Houston and other people, to where the usage is so concentrated and the person has the ball in their hands for so much of the game that a triple-double is like, yeah, you're going to get triple-double. Hell, nobody else had the ball. So that's another issue that I have with Luka and also the Mavs. This year, Western Conference Finals, I feel like is the ceiling for them. But in the coming years, if we want to see championship Luka, it's going to come with him trusting teammates and not having the ball as much and not so many artificial triple-doubles because you're actually running an offense that's not so Luka-centric. But for right now, though, as you know, currently constructed, this is what they are. And, yeah, I'm with Royce. I think they're a playoff team. James Johnson is a really good signing by them. He provides versatility in defense and kind of a Luka protector in a way because don't nobody in the league want to fight James Johnson. MMA champion, black belt, whatever. Don't nobody want problems with James Johnson. So that was a good maneuver by them, man. But, yeah.
Don't tell nobody, Nas. But that's the guy I'm just about to add to my fantasy team. Hopefully nobody's listening.
Right. Shout out to James Johnson, man. Versatile, undersized guy, does it all.
Yeah, but don't forget James Johnson. He can have all that fighting he wants to. LeBron punched him in the face one good old time that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. I know that. And it wasn't a physical fight. It was a dunk on. But LeBron, if you have not seen it, LeBron did him something terrible up there. He should have just stayed down and let that bucket be scored. But and he went up there and tried to take on LeBron, and him being the king, he went and punched his clock for real. And that's one of those memorable top 10 don't jump moments like that. That was one of those. James Johnson did catch one.
Yeah, hey, you might put him on a poster, but you don't want no problems. You don't want no scuffle. I tell you that.
Hey, listen. I'll tell you this: when we get off of here, you YouTube that clip. It looked like LeBron gave him a Tyson uppercut. The way he punched him so hard. Oh my gosh! He punched him so hard. Look, it was one of those
All I'm saying is this ain't the typical NBA hold me back in a fight player. This is a dude who has won MMA fights. Leave him alone.
I got it. No, I know the history. I know that his hands are registered. No, he's a black belt. His hands are registered. So I get it. I get it. I'm just being funny for, like, basketball purposes. I'm trying to bring you back down to basketball and not being MMA or boxing. I got to bring you back down to earth. Okay, so I need plugs to close out from the two of you because you two ended this like the master chefs would. Come in here and just start eating everything. So I need a plug, close out, shout out from you, Nash, and then I'll go to Royce next. Thank you for stopping by at the end of the show and trying to get your fill and acting like somebody banned you. I ain't banning nobody.
Again, not you, Ty. I'm big game. I'm talking about the whole internet because of how thorough I lay these arguments out. They're after me, sir. Now, you can say I'm paranoid, but you're not paranoid when they're out to get you. But shout out to Sports City Chef. Good show as usual. Next time when y'all do Master Chef Cookout, especially on the NBA, I will be here for the majority of the show. We're going to put in that work. Love that y'all giving the people the information that they need. There's so many people who talk about the NBA, but they can only talk about the favorites, the top teams in the league. This show, you get into the minutia. If you want to talk about the Charlotte Hornets, we can do that. If you want, like, it doesn't matter because we about this league. And this year of COVID, everything we face and everything else, shout out to the NBA for trying to put this product together. They're dealing with serious issues. We just saw two teams have to just suspend 3 games, but they're marching on. These players are putting that work in because they know the guys that came before them that made this possible are watching, and the people who are coming next, they want to leave it better for them than when they got it. So, man, I love this league, love what they're doing, and I'm going to enjoy the games this weekend. Shout out to you. Shout out to Royce for giving y'all expertise. Love to hear y'all.
He finally gave a brother some flowers, man. Yeah, that's all I want, man. I asked for some flowers. You don't even know how beautiful this day's been to me, man. Brother going through a lot. But first, to start off with Royce. Royce sent me a bunch of flowers today. You know, my pops like Raisinets. I like M&M peanut. He sent me a box of Raisinets, a box of M&M peanut, and then here go this guy trying to throw this around. Man, I love my people. I love my brothers, man. Shout out to Kamala Harris and them changing the atmosphere of the world. Because now everybody being nice to everybody. Because these dudes used to butcher me, man. Let me stop, man. I got to have some fun with these dudes, man. My brothers forever. Royce, you already know what you do. Me and Royce really been, like, how was it? Like, yeah. I think me and Royce been together for a solid, like, 10 to 11 hours. Like today. But I need a plug, close out, shout out, anything that you like to promote as we close the doors here at the Crossover Cafe.
Man, brother, I don't know what I can say after Nas. I really just wanted to open up my mic and say, echo what he said. And thanks for having me. And I'll see y'all next time right here on the Master Chef edition of Crossover Cafe. That's all I got.
See, look, there they go, man. Okay, so Sports City, like I said, these dudes brought me flowers today. These dudes actually cooked up and made a brother smile today. Shout out to the first day of Joe Biden being in office for real, and Kamala Harris and them, and doing what they could do. Like I said, we need to do this together, everybody, even the people that feel ill towards people's existence or the other party. I don't like to look at it as parties. We in this together, man. We got to try and figure this out some way, and it starts here and now, 2021. It just ain't going to work no more. Even though I know it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while, but the one thing that do bring us together is dishes like these, sports. They may have that anger in them, but on Sunday they cheer for Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, things of that nature, fall back into the heat of the battle, so on and so forth. I need y'all to keep that same energy that you do from Sunday. With that being said, I love these people. I love everybody that came in here. Good amount of people came to the cafe for the premiere. I love every last bit of it. I've been talking sports all day, Sports City, so I'm exhausted. I got to put something in the fridge in my tummy. But on that note, tell a friend that it's the chefs again. And if they don't know, now they know.